Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I have already checked to make sure my mic is on today. Boy, was that funny. It was 3 minutes of me talking yesterday and no mic. So, tonight I want to talk a little bit about how overanalyzing or overthinking has caused many of us to stunt our speaking growth, or to prevent us from getting to a place of having less hobby opportunities and more professional opportunities where we're actually getting paid. So, during our discussion today, I'm going to go over 3 things that we should be considering if you find that your own limiting beliefs are preventing you. Thank you, Sharice. Are preventing you from reaching out there and pitching a particular group that you would like to speak for. We want to almost, it's like almost taking yourself away. I don't know. I don't, any Marvel fans here? Those of you who are Avengers fans, I don't know. I was recently watching it, and um, they were trying to get the time stone. So they had to go back in time, and the Hulk was sent to actually go get it. Well, Doctor Strange wasn't available, and another person that was responsible for protecting that was there. But when the Hulk tried to get it, the person that was protecting the stone actually pushed him outside of his body, right, to have this discussion. So it's almost like you're going to have to take a step back from who you are. I don't know if there's any Marvel fans here. I'm totally nerding out. Um, you're going to have to almost take a step back and view yourself through a different lens. So I'm going to go over 3 things that you should be considering as you're going out there, you're sharing a message, and you're pitching it. Someone asked a question. I just recently shared a win. A client of mine, we did a 2-hour one-on-one meeting. And in that 2-hour one-on-one meeting, we were able to pull out their story, create a signature talk from that story, prep it to get pitched, and Google said yes. And so their question was, well, how did that happen? Well, it happened through taking time to remove yourself, right? Remove yourself a little bit from the situation and take a bird's eye level view of your journey, of your history, of your experience, and learn how to structure that. So the first thing that I would often see with many of my clients is I work with people who are amazing at the work that they do. They are high level executives. They are multi 6-figure, 7-figure business owners. They are professionals with higher levels of expertise in their field, whether it be medicine, law, tax, right? I have worked with people who have achieved amazing feats in their own professional journey as well as personal, yet they get stunted. They get stunted by the analytical brain, which has served them well in achieving their goals. But there's a creative side and an analytical side that needs to be considered as you build out your business. So the first thing that often happens with them is that it's preventing them from seeing what matters. Overthinking and overanalyzing is preventing you from seeing what matters. So I would get questions from these amazing professionals that would be centered around, well, how many stories should I have in my presentation? And how many times should I make sure I say this word? Or how many times should I pause? And what they lose the focus on is, as you're stating the words, are you taking time to actually have a conversation with the audience? Are you taking time to actually speak with the audience, or are you speaking to them? And there's specific ways in which I handle that in my heart methodology. But we get so critical on making sure we follow each step that we lose the foundational principle of truly engaging with the audience. And that's a huge factor because if you don't have raving fans in your audience, you're always going to have someone that says something negative. So we're talking about the majority of the audience. If you don't have people raving about the transformation that they feel after you speak, the event organizers aren't going to call you back. They talk. They talk just like we talk. It's just like when we call our friends and say, "Hey, girl, you would never believe what I just saw. You would never believe what happened." The same thing is happening with event organizers. Here's the second thing, and we need to consider this one really, really closely, y'all. When we are over analyzers, when we're overthinkers, we tend to overteach. Have you heard of the term put everything in there but the kitchen sink? Have you heard that term before? Who's a kitchen sink talker in here? Put kitchen sink in the comments so I know that there are some people here that have struggled with that. I have certainly struggled with that. Coming from a healthcare background, I was first a clinician. And when I would educate my patients on the treatment that would need to be given to them to restore their health, we were taught to lay out all of the facts, every single thing, so that they can make an informed decision. Because as a healthcare provider, I've taken an oath to do no harm, right? And we also are creating a collaborative relationship with our patients. However, when you're out there teaching, once I got into education, once I got my master's degree and I was out there teaching adult learners and learning about educational methodology, we tend when to overteach, give too much where we overwhelm our listeners and our audience. And so being analytical or being an overthinker puts us in a position where we feel like, oh, I got to make sure I include this entire thing here. And I also have to add in this auxiliary resource that I have here because I can't forget this one important aspect. And then we lose the focus in on what is our main goal? What's our promise? What is our transformation that we're hoping to achieve during our time with this particular audience member, during this time when we're actually speaking? The third thing that impacts us as an overthinker or being an analytical person is that we're too concerned about being someone else. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me see, I think I had two podcast interviews this week that were amazing, absolutely amazing. I can't wait for them to be out. And we were just talking about the fact that many of us feel that we can't truly be ourselves, right? We get to a place where we feel like we have to wear our hair a certain way, our clothes a certain way. Some of us change our tone of voice to appear more authoritative. There's so many things that we do, and there's a whole history behind that. That isn't my specialty. There are people that specialize on how the culture has impacted how we show up with our voice. But we get so concerned about being someone else, being a Les Brown, being an Iyanla Vanzant. I'm naming some of my favorite speakers, other than focusing in on just being yourself, knowing that your journey is enough. What you have seen is such a unique lens that people will be able to gather lessons from that. But unfortunately, we come from corporate America, or we come from experiences in our childhood or adulthood that has told us that we have to present a certain way for people to take us seriously. Now, of course, we know that there's unconscious bias. We can't control every aspect of that. But to really tap into the analytical and creative side of your brain to truly create recurring income through speaking that's deeply impactful, that allows you to build a legacy, we have to come to terms with understanding that we are enough, that we have enough experience. I can't tell you how many times I've talked with clients and they've stated, well, I don't really have that much speaking experience. And then I go through their journey and I start pulling out things that have been sitting there for ages, but yet they were forgotten. So I implore each of you who are kind of sitting on the fence, waiting for some things to happen in their speaking, hoping that maybe they can find the answer for their overthinking. Maybe they can find the answer that's preventing them from seeing what matters so they can be more engaged. I was looking at a survey that I took of individuals that were interested in the Legacy Speaker Live Tour, and individuals wrote in the survey, I'm just looking to amplify my thought leadership. I want to get more clarity. I want to get paid. I want to understand what it is that I'm talking about when I show up. And all of those things are important. To have the recurring growth, it's going to be multi-layered, but the starting point is really getting clear on what your topic is and who are you speaking to, and how can you then monetize that so that you can go out there and do it again and again and again and again. And that's exactly why the Legacy Speaker Live Tour has been created. If you've been following me with me for some time, you have seen our recap video. You've even seen some of the wins just a month out of presenting it. Our attendees who have come to our event have booked their first keynote. Our attendees who have come to our event have taken the monetization strategies and the heart methodology to go out there and close the biggest contract they've ever done in their own consulting firm. Our attendees are pitching their signature talk made during this workshop, and they're going out there and landing stages and getting visible. The whole point of you coming here is not to waste my time nor yours. The whole point of you attending one of our events is to make sure that you're ready to come in with an open heart and mind, and you're ready to work. From the time that we walk into the workshop to the time that we leave, we are working. We are working. It's not going to be a whole bunch of mindset. We're here to pull out what's already in you that's been sitting there waiting for you to help bring some structure to it and package it so that you can then go out and pitch it and then go out to do what? Make recurring income through it. Now, of course, when you come to this Legacy Speaker Live Tour, this isn't the end all, be all to all things speaking. We have resources for that, but this is to give you the boost that you need to refine your presentation skills, to know what your signature talk is, to have the clarity, no more clouding or fogging up your view of knowing how you can monetize this. Because some of you have had a calling for years. A calling for years. Some of you have said, if I had a choice to choose between coaching and consulting, or if I had a choice to do this particular service, I would choose speaking hands down. But you haven't, because you haven't taken the time to invest to learn how to make that an option. I've been talking recently about business growth. And I gave an example of a brick and mortar looking to start itself in a particular town. Now, if I wanted to start a brick and mortar, I'm going to ask several questions necessary in order to make my business be successful. But imagine a brick and mortar beginner business only being concerned with the questions of how much should I charge for this soap? And where do I find the people that buy the soap? We all know that business is multi-layered. If a business owner is only concerned about those two questions, they miss the opportunity to understand the fundamentals of marketing, of operations, of systems, and so many other things that can fall through the crack if we are not viewing a business holistically. That's the same concept that we have to take with speaking. Why are so many people frustrated with speaking? Why haven't people stuck with speaking in their own growth? It's because they're not asking the right questions. They're focusing on two. How do I get paid? And what should I charge when I speak? They're not concerned about the parts that matter, which gets you called into rooms, that get your name mentioned into rooms, that allows people to connect with you on a deep level. They're not concerned about the marketing part of speaking. They've forgotten everything else. So if you're a thought leader, an executive, you've got something to say, if you're a mover or shaker, you want to make deep impact, and you also want to leverage your intellectual capital in a more leveraged way beyond what you've done right now, I invite you to join the Legacy Speaker community. And if you know you want a taste of what it's like to work with a coach or consultant and refine your speaking and develop that signature talk uninterrupted. Your children aren't bothering you, your partner's not bothering you, law and order ain't bothering you. You have no distractions. You are completely distraction free. That is where the creative side is able to flourish and you're able to get stuff done. It's amazing when I finally get an opportunity to take my sabbatical. Beautiful things come out of that. Beautiful things come out of creating space so that you can focus. And then being around other like-minded individuals who want the same thing as you, who desire the same thing as you, who are rock stars in their own right, in their own respective industries. There's so much that you can learn by just being in the room. There's so many opportunities that arise from just being in the room. We're not saying this to fill our pockets, y'all, because I've seen it work in me, in my own life. I've seen it work in my own biz besties and mastermind groups that I belong to. I've seen it work in their life as well. We can't do business alone anymore. At some point in time, you have to collaborate, you have to connect, you have to build community, and you have to get the help that you need. So tomorrow I'm going to be closing the Chicago registration. I reopened it. And I've reopened it because I said, I want to have it completely full. Because I know that there's someone out there right now that needs what I can provide for them just so they can have the clarity to move forward. So we have 4 seats available in Chicago. We now have 3 seats in New York City. 1 seat was taken yesterday. And we have 2 seats in San Diego. That's it. That's it for this year. We're offering pay in full options and also a payment plan so that there's no excuse or fear on whether or not you can invest in this experience. We have partnered with funding partners so that there are no hidden fees, no interest, no additional money you have to pay if you need and choose to use a payment plan. So if you're not sure if this is the right fit for you, I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and send your DM to me and let me know what your goals are. I'll be happy to discuss where you're at and if the Legacy Speaker Live Tour is for you. All right, y'all. I will see you tomorrow. Again, registration is reclosing after a reopen this week for Chicago. So if you want to join us, we've got such an amazing program set aside, and the group of individuals that are attending are already amazing. You're going to have a psychologically safe environment. You're going to have a physically safe environment for you to come in and exercise one of the most vulnerable skills that you may have, but to do so and get prepared for what's awaiting for you on the other side. And that is the communities that are waiting to hear your story. They're waiting to hear the solutions that you have to offer. And for you to do so by reaching their hearts and causing a transformation that transcends into their own respective homes and communities, which is all a part of the legacy that you're creating. All right, y'all. See you tomorrow.